show, although I do watch her religiously. That's the queen. I'm always a couple of days behind watching on the show because I've got stuff going on. But somebody tweeted today that Candice said that she believed that they were about to get a divorce. I think he was gay, and I think he was gay. And
come on,
you know that you do know that I've criticized.
What? Like I'm sorry, Tim, but like, why would you even go there? Like to say something like that?
I'll tell you why.
No. The man's dead. You're calling now. You think he's gay?
That's when people can tell the truth.
I know. I disagree.
That's when people tell the truth because let me tell you why. Okay, and if you want to read in a vindictive crusade on my part for everything I've just said, you are entitled to do so, and so are the viewers. But I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what Charlie Kirk did to me. Charlie was a very brilliant, very, very brilliant organizer, fundraiser, networker. Those three things, phenomenal. Probably the best in the business, maybe. Certainly one of the top 2, 3. Amazing at those things. But he was also very ruthless. He was a very ruthless person who spent a long time excising and excommunicating all of the most interesting people in politics from the right wing. He did it for a decade. Everybody knows it. Nobody said it because it's not polite in the aftermath of his death.
Charlie gave a platform.
Let me finish. He gave a platform to lily-livered, centrist, weak frauds, faggots, and prostitutes, and drag queens. What he also did at that same time, and anybody in power, what he also did.
Hello, welcome to a new edition of the Weekly Wrap, y'all. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful Saturday. If you're listening on Saturday, if you're listening on Sunday or any other day of the week, I hope that day is awesome. We have a bunch of topics to talk about, including Milo saying some gay shit, Republicans again underperforming in a special election, much other stuff to go over, Venezuela, some ridiculous truth posts Trump did regarding Venezuela and Russia. So we're running into a bunch of topics today because it is the Weekly Wrap. But before we get into it all, I need you to subscribe, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart Podcasts, all these different podcast networks I've never heard before that apparently this podcast is on. Shout out to RSS. Please subscribe. I would really freaking appreciate it. And if you are listening on YouTube, also like and comment. That helps with the algorithm. And I would greatly appreciate it. So as you just heard, I played the clip of Milo Yiannopoulos, the former gay, but probably still is gay, canceled right-wing commentator who has gained weight over the last 10 years. I wonder why. He was on Tim Pool's podcast, and he, out of the blue, says that Charlie Kirk was gay and that he pushed, some of the more edgy right-wing voices out of the conservative movement. Couple thoughts. Number one, for those who don't know who Milo Yiannopoulos is, he was a very prominent, edgy, right-wing sort of speaker. He'd go on these different college campuses, around 2015, 2016. And he was gay, or is gay. He claims he's not gay anymore, which, you tell me how much credibility to put into that. I think once you go gay, you stay gay. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of actual successful attempts of de-gaying oneself. Maybe you can go from gay to bi. I don't know. Not that I know about bisexuality. I don't know anything about it. But maybe that can happen. But in terms of going gay to straight, I don't think so. The fact that Milo now claims he's straight is sort of interesting. Sort of goes to the fact that he's an interesting character. But I digress. But he was, he came to prominence in 2015, 2016, partly because he sort of rode on the Trump wave. He was sort of like, Ben Shapiro was also gaining prominence at this time, but he was sort of a never-Trumper. Very intelligent, a fast talker, so he became popular, Shapiro. But Milo, he was like a prominent Trump supporter, and he was gay, and, he was a troll. Milo was a huge troll. So he became very popular. Unfortunately for Milo, he went on some podcast. It was either The Drunken Peasants or Joe Rogan, or maybe he said it on both podcasts. He said that essentially that sometimes younger gay boys, minors, can benefit when they have a sexual relationship with an older gay adult. Okay, so Milo was canceled for saying that, obviously. Now, the point Milo was making is, does that happen to him, essentially? That some priest, the the stereotypical fucked up love story between a grown-up priest and a young boy. I say that jokingly, but it is fucked up. That classic tale. Not exactly Romeo and Juliet over there, but you know, it is what it is. Not good. Not good. I condemn. But Milo said that happened to him, and that's what got him. You know, I mean, that's not really what got him canceled. What got him canceled was saying that it can't benefit people. But Milo was trying to say it benefited him because it happened to him. That's fine if you want to say it specifically benefited you. I'm not sure you really want to say that anyway. But he was making a larger point that there are other cases where that can be beneficial. And that was obviously very problematic. So he got canceled. Ever since then, Milo, he's clearly he had a mental breakdown. He's doing drugs. He became super religious. I think he was religious, but he became more religious. He stopped fucking dudes. He tried to turn straight. So he's a bit of a shit show. But, his name is still, people still know who Milo Yiannopoulos is. I mean, he went on Bill Maher's show and was the most eccentric gay conservative you'd ever see in your life. I mean, you can look at the segment. I believe it's still up with Bill Maher talking to Milo on his show. It's one of the weirdest interactions you'll see. Again, this flamboyant gay dude wearing all these pearls and this crazy hair makeup and all. It's just very flamboyantly gay. And now he's straight. So again, make of that what you will. But now Milo is airing his grievances because maybe Charlie Kirk had a role in trying to get him canceled. I don't know if that's true or not. But he says that Charlie Kirk was gay. And what's really funny about the clip I played is George Santos. That was the guy who started defending Charlie. George Santos, who is also gay. What is with Tim Pool and hanging out with all these fat gay dudes? What's up with that? Mr. Tim Pool, he's always, I don't know, he's always around fat gay people. Tim Dillon sometimes he's with. It's what's up with that, Tim? Is your girl not? Anyway, let's not even get into that. So, Tim Pool is surrounded by these fat gay dudes, or I should say formerly gay dudes in Milo's cases, wink, wink. And then George Santos starts defending Charlie, no, Charlie didn't do that. Charlie wasn't gay. Milo's saying he is gay, and he's no, he's not gay. He's dead. He's a dead man. He is not alive. Who gives a fuck whether or not he was gay? And he was not gay. There's no evidence he was gay. He had a wife. He had kids. Maybe bisexual. That is possible, I guess, theoretically. Again, not that I know anything about bisexuality. But other than that, what is the evidence that he's gay? And I don't think it was in the clip I played, but Milo goes on to say that Benny Johnson is gay. That might be true. Alex Jones might even be gay. I don't think that's true. But Milo is just going on this, he's just saying all this crazy shit. And look, did Charlie have a role in trying to censor some of the more edgy voices in the right-wing hemisphere? That's possible. He clearly played a role in what happened to Fuentes. I don't know if he was putting pressure on these social media companies to actually censor Fuentes, but he more or less made it clear that speaking to Fuentes was unacceptable. In fact, I believe Dinesh D'Souza released text messages recently when Dinesh debated Fuentes, when Charlie then reached out to him and basically told Dinesh he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a kernel in truth in what Milo was saying, but I don't think the kernel of truth is that Charlie Kirk was a dick sucker. I mean, who knows? Could be. He had a big head, Literally, I'm talking about his actual head. He had a big head. I do too. So, people say it looked like Charlie Kirk for what it's worth. I'm not so sure that's a compliment. No offense to Charlie. R.I.P. But, it's just, Milo is just a weird guy. And I want to talk a little bit more about Charlie Kirk in the sense that there's all these conspiracy theories going around still about Charlie Kirk's death. And you have Candace Owens, who keeps putting on these conspiracy theories about how Charlie Kirk died. She recently said that Charlie was about to leave his wife, and that Turning Point is hiding information about Charlie Kirk's death. It's folks, it's very clear what happened here. You had a crazy, sexually confused left-winger who had a transgender girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the hell it was. And because Charlie Kirk is, he talks about how he talked about how transgenderism is destructive for the family and destructive for society. This crazy, sexually confused loser decided to kill Charlie over it. That's what happened. That's what all the evidence is. Like, what is the evidence that Tyler Robinson wasn't the shooter? Like, what is the more compelling theory exactly? That Israel killed Charlie Kirk? There's no evidence Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Why would Israel kill Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk was still nominally pro-Israel by the time he was assassinated. Yes, he was starting to voice more skepticism about Israel, but he was still pro-Israel, Charlie. There's no question about that. He even backed off much of his criticism regarding Trump's decision to bomb Iran at that point. So, like, what is the evidence that Israel would have wanted to kill Charlie Kirk? And then what is the evidence that they actually did? There's a lack of motivation and there's a lack of evidence. So it's like, what? And these people, including Candice, is obsessed with how Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, like how she's like handled herself during this whole period of time, and acting like it's suspicious. It's like, what? She's a grieving widow who was married to one of the most prominent voices in our political, ecosystem in terms of punditry. Many people thought Charlie could become president one day. I never really viewed him that way, but I guess other people did. So she's grieving in her own way. She's trying to keep her husband's legacy going. She's under immense public scrutiny now, and she's much more publicly visible. She was always a public person. She was a model or something like that. Miss Arizona or some gay shit like that. No offense, but, not my type of thing. I mean, anyway, that's not a gay joke. I love women, believe me. I don't know why in this podcast I have to defend my sexuality so much. I'm like Milo. I'm just like Milo. I'm straight. I promise I'm straight. Me and Milo have a lot in common, I guess, except I didn't go through conversion therapy. I maybe need to go through other forms of therapy, especially after these last 2 months dealing with a former friend. I emphasize on the word former. By the way, if you notice that this segment I did about not burning bridges has been deleted, there's a reason for that. I take it back a little bit, folks. Sometimes the bridges need to be burned. I take it back. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes bridges need to be burned, and I learned that lesson the last 2 weeks for sure. But putting that aside, again, the conspiracy theories regarding Charlie Kirk, it's just getting a little weird. And the fact that Milo's going on all these podcasts saying that not only is Charlie gay, or was gay, because he's dead, that Charlie was gay, Alex Jones is gay. Alex Jones, show me your cock. Jet fuel, kit meal, steel. Show me your cock now. It's like, what? I don't know if Alex would say that. Benny Johnson might actually be gay. That would not shock me. Just look at Benny Johnson. And just look at his lips. You could see it. Come on, I'll give Milo Benny. And there are rumors about former, young Turning Point people who worked for them and young aides for different right-wing companies who at different conferences might have visited Benny's hotel. I'm not saying that actually happened, but I may even know someone who worked for Turning Point who maybe told me a story about Benny. I'm not saying that's true, but, And also, Benny Johnson famously sort of doxed himself, exposing that he was being marketed like gay cruises, which, if you're getting internet ads for gay cruises, probably tells you something about his search history, right? But, I digress. So, very weird. Milo's a weird guy. I don't think he's really straight. Hope he's straight. Don't care if he's straight. Probably still gay. Probably, he's a fucked up dude. And Candice, I think she's just in it for the clicks. I have mixed views about Candice overall, but I think what she's doing regarding Charlie Kirk is disgusting. I'm not disputing the fact that Charlie was probably having second thoughts about Israel because of the fact that, he understood that young people didn't like being so subservient to Israel, and he voiced that to President Trump at the time, so that makes sense. But again, I am very skeptical of this whole idea that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. I've seen some people, I don't know if Candice has said this, so I won't accuse her of it, suggesting that Turning Point was in on a conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk and that Erica Kirk might have been involved in some capacity. I'm not saying, I don't think Candice has said that, to be fair. I want to be clear. But like what happened to Charlie Kirk most likely was you had a crazy left-wing weirdo who had a trans partner and wanted to kill Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk is against transgenderism or was against transgenderism. That's what happened. So any other theory I've not been satisfied with, but anyway, that's enough about Milo. That's enough about Candice. Let's move on to the next topic.